Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here from the Back to 12 podcast, giving you some of my favorite upset predictions for March Madness 2022. And hey, you know, there's always one Cinderella or quote unquote Cinderella in the madness. And let's see if we can identify that team right now. And let's start off with a team from the West. And of course, I am talking about the New Mexico State Aggies, who are going to play the 5-seed UConn Huskies. Give me the Aggies in an upset, the 12-5 upset. You know that is a patented upset if you pay attention to March Madness. And the name you need to know is Teddy Allen. He's averaging 19.3 points per game, 6.8 rebounds per game, is a 6'6 guard who can really just spearhead an attack against UConn. And UConn is guard heavy, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if they have somebody that can stop Teddy Allen. And now if he's off, New Mexico State's in a world of trouble, but I don't expect some of these guards that are older and didn't have the opportunity here in the past couple of years, whether that's due to COVID or just not being able to make the tournament, to really let their teams down. So Teddy Allen is the guy that I am watching out of the New Mexico State Aggies team. And out of the WAC, they went 14-4 this year, but they did have one of the biggest collapses maybe ever in terms of against the spread, as they lost a 25.5 point favorite game where they were favorited to beat Chicago State by 25.5 points, and they lost it. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the Huskies show up in this one, and I think the Aggies move on to the round of 32. As for my second 12/5, this is a team that I just don't get the hype around personally. I don't get it with the Houston Cougars, and that's no disrespect to Kelvin Sampson, Kyler Edwards, who transferred from Texas Tech. The Cougars lost two of their best players in early December, mid-December this year. I don't see all the hype in terms of the metrics and everything. And I'm a pretty big metrics guy. I like Ken Palm, who has them in the top 15 of both offense and defense. I just don't see it. I think the Blazers of UAB with head coach Andy Kennedy will come down there and beat Houston. Now, you got to remember the Blazers, they ranked 6th nationally in scoring, averaging just over 80 points per game, as well as have the 6th best rebounding margin, averaging more than 14.5 rebounds more than their opponent in this game. And I think when you look at Houston, I think it catches up. And I think UAB, they can score with anybody, and Houston is a defensive-minded team, but I think UAB figures it out, and I think 2 12/5 seeds in this March Madness period where, I mean, the Blazers are fun. We all know the football story that the Blazers had to go through, the basketball story, and Andy Kennedy, in my opinion, will move on to the round of 32. Elsewhere, I do want to give one that I'm not picking myself, but I do think it's interesting. Vermont over Arkansas. And the reason that I'm saying that is Vermont is one of the slowest paced teams in the country, not even in their league, in the country. And Arkansas loves to go with Katie Notte and Williams up front. I think if Vermont can dictate the pace, that they could potentially pull off that 13/4 upset in this one. I'm not picking it, but I do think that that is a matchup to watch. Now, one that I am picking is Davidson over Michigan State. It is a 10/7, so it's not drastic, but we do know that Tom Izzo, I mean, he owns March. It's just the fact and reality of it. Michigan State dominates in the month of March. I mean, some have even called it January, February, Izzo, April, right? But no, I think Michigan State goes home in the first round. We will not see Michigan State face off against Duke in the round of 32. Elsewhere, I think a team that might be getting a little overlooked in this is Rutgers. Rutgers does have a play-in game against Notre Dame. They will be the 11th seed if they win, but I would take Rutgers over Alabama. I really would, because I think when you look at Rutgers, they have one of the most underrated players in the country in Ron Harper Jr., who's averaging 15.6 points per game in his senior season. And they have a ton of experience on this Rutgers team. And that's something that cannot be taken lightly in March, right? When you have senior leadership that has proven itself on the court, maybe not in the tournament, but throughout one of the toughest conferences in the country in the Big Ten, give me that team right there. And that is the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And the reason I'm picking them, I just don't know what to think of Alabama, personally. Alabama is one of those teams where it wouldn't shock me if they make the Elite Eight, but it also wouldn't shock me if they lose by 20 to Rutgers or Notre Dame, whoever wins that play-in game. They are just so streaky under Nate Oates. Love the offense, but they don't play a lick of defense. It's disrespectful to the term a lick to even say that that's how much defense Alabama plays. They just play no defense whatsoever. One of the most common upsets around the country, and I have 3 11/6s. Obviously, I mentioned one right there, and Rutgers over Alabama, but I also have Iowa State over LSU. I just don't trust the Tigers with all of this stuff going on with Will Wade. Give me Iowa State, who's a top 10 defense in the country. The other 11/6 seed I have is arguably the hottest team in the country right now in the Hokies, the Virginia Tech Hokies over the Texas Longhorns. I don't think the Longhorns get out of the first round again. And you're playing one of the toughest matchups in the country. There's a video out right now of Courtney Ramey, a super senior guard for Texas. When he saw the matchup that it would be Virginia Tech, he kind of turned into one of those gifts where he's like, that ain't it, Chief. And I think Virginia Tech and the Hokies move on to the round of 32. When it comes to other upsets around the country, I do like Loyola Chicago over Iowa State. I really like that one. And then there's 2 that people might not be on, but I will give my least favorite one first out of these 2. I still like it, but not as much as the other one. I am going to pick UT Chattanooga over Illinois. Listen, I know UT Chattanooga, when you look at the metrics, they suck. And I mean, they suck against guarding any big man in the paint. And you're thinking to yourself, RC, do you not realize that they have Kofi Coburn down there, Illinois, and Brad Underwood? Yeah, I do. But I think that Chattanooga has all the outside weapons to just space and make it an absolute nightmare on Kofi Coburn, get him in foul trouble early, and really dictate the pace. That's something that I don't think a lot of teams can do. I think UT Chattanooga can do it. I am picking the 13-seeded UT Chattanooga to beat Illinois and move on and face UAB. We got a 13-12 matchup in the round of 32, so there will at least be one double-digit seed in the Sweet 16 in my bracket. I will say this. I mentioned that there is another 13-4 seed that I like, and I am taking it everywhere. I'm putting all my money where my mouth is on this one. I'm taking the Jackrabbits. I am taking South Dakota State to beat Providence. I think Providence is one of the most overrated teams in the country. And I think South Dakota State may be one of the most underrated. This is a great offense. They know how to defend. And right now they are one of the hottest teams in the country. They just absolutely own their league this year. And Providence is coming into the NCAA tournament really in one of its worst stretches all season. Give me the Jackrabbits to beat the Friars, move on, and I'll do you one better. I think that if South Dakota State wins, they'll play Iowa in the round of 32. Give me the Jackrabbits over the Hawkeyes in the round of 32. Yes, I have South Dakota State in the Sweet 16. If you disagree with me, let me know down in the comments below. But most importantly, be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn that red button gray, and stay in the know all month long on March Madness. I'm making daily videos here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. I'm RC Maxfield. If you want to follow me on Twitter, follow me at RCMB323. And again, South Dakota State, who would have thought? Not me. Y'all have a good one and embrace the madness.